Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me. Thank you very, very, very much. And today we welcome along another member of the GSA family. I want to give this a go. Laura Andresen Guimarães.
Very good.
Okay, that's the closest I'm going to get. I have not a Portuguese bone in me, so that was as close as we're going to get. So, Laura, I'm just going to say that from now on. So, anyone who's not familiar with Laura's work, let's take a moment to introduce her right now. So, Laura trained at the Guildford School of Acting and Tring Park Performing Arts as part of the fellow drama school Arts Ed. She has performed in many capacities as an instrumentalist, actor, and musician across the world, from West End shows, actor musician Shakespeare, to playing the saxophone on the world stage at the FIFA World Cup in 2022 Qatar. She plays a multitude of instruments, including the saxophone, the piano, the flute, the clarinet, and also the guitar. And also, being a skilled loop system like the one Ed Sheeran uses, she can create any song in the catalogue, from the drum beat to the bass line to the main guitar riff, in no time at all. Check out her website and Instagram for performances, one being a looped version of Seven Nation Army. Highly recommend. On top of all this, she's also a teacher and director, having led workshops at GSA, LAMDA and Tring Park, helping people from all backgrounds nurture their talent and boost their confidence. And lastly, she offers private tuition for acting and saxophone players, from practice to advice on drama school prep. She's got you covered. So, website below to get in touch, as well as her Instagram. So, Laura, benvindo.
Thank you so much. Hola.
Hola, how are you?
I'm good. What an introduction. That is so very lovely. Thank you.
Hey, it's all you, mate. It's all you work. It's all your work. Doing all this stuff. It's great. So we start at the beginning. So in your case, Laura, where did it come from? The love of acting, musicianship, performing, being in this business. Where did it come from?
That's a good question. It's pretty difficult to pinpoint. It's very, in a very cliche, stereotypical answer. It's always been there, and I've been incredibly fortunate to have been able to pursue it to this point. But at school, it's the thing that I can remember loving the most, being good at. I was chucked into Stagecoach, classic Saturday school British thing that we love here, and I've since taught at for many years. Used to, and that allowed me to keep going with it. I picked up the saxophone year 5, I think. I was told that I needed 2 front teeth, and I had to come back and wait until they'd fully grown to learn the saxophone, because I think I was a bit too young when I asked to play it. So that definitely helped the music side of things. But I was in singing lessons from a much younger age, and I can always remember sort of school plays and nativities, and actually remember being in year 2 and my teacher using it as I was sort of given this sort of big singing part in the nativity, and she sort of dangled that in front of me anytime I was naughty. She said, "I'll take that away unless if you don't know." So it's really always been there, and I feel very lucky to have been supported. I think my mum, not to go on, but my mum didn't necessarily have she's definitely got it in her as well, but she didn't necessarily have the sort of the lessons at school and the support and everything, and it wasn't nurtured in the same way. So I think she was really enthusiastic in giving me and my sister that, which is amazing.
Fantastic. Is your sister a performer as well, like yourself?
Not a performer, but she can sing beautifully, and she's super musical. But she's gone down a much lovelier route, and she's a nurse. So
She's a nurse. Oh well, then we give her our full support. Congrats to her. So no, I did Stagecoach as well. Do you have any memories of that time?
yes, for sure. Like images of horror are coming to my mind when I think about
Me
the
too.
sort of music videos that we made of sort of, who was popular at the time.
Yeah.
Just sort of Just Dance by Lady Gaga, and it was sort of a neon leggings type. Like that's the kind of thing that flashes to mind. Oh, and also I did a school talent competition when I was in year 3, and it was all that jazz that I sang. My singing teacher got me to learn it, and I went to Stagecoach and they helped me come up with a dance. And I can remember, I'm in year 3, or what, 8, 7? I'm on a chair, and it's, rouge your knees. Sort of like, it's so not appropriate. And there's a video somewhere of me in a feather boa and a bowler hat in the year 3 talent show. Obviously, I won it. Obviously,
of course, yeah.
With that, I mean, come on. But yeah, so it really does. It's always been there, I think.
Jesus. Yeah, I want to know who your teachers were. They're in a lot of trouble now.
We can get away with that. I don't know. I didn't think it was really great then, to be honest. But
yeah, I know. We look back on some of the things we did, and we think you would never get away with that now. You just wouldn't. Yeah, different times, different energies. Yeah. Oh, thankfully, it's all in the past now. The first one you went to was Tring Park Performing Arts, which I mentioned in the intro as part of Arts Educational Schools, another popular drama school in London. How was your time there? How were those 2 years?
Yes, those 2 years were amazing. I have never worked so hard in my life. I left my school at 16 and then I went there for college, sixth form. And I wanted to go somewhere where I could still do my A-levels because I really, not in a geeky Hermione Granger way, but I did love studying and I did want to do those. And I know a lot of the schools, it was very much, the performing arts schools focused on BTECs, which are great, and other forms of training that are all about theatre and acting and music. And I definitely still wanted to do my English and my history and that sort of music, English history, music. So I don't know, bit of variety. And so you do those in the morning, your A-levels, and then in the afternoon, it's fully a vocational course. And I actually auditioned for the musical theatre course and I got asked to come back for the acting. And that was probably that was interesting. I forgot about that. And I came back to the acting course, auditioned for that, absolutely loved it. It was much more suited to me for sure. And so, I was doing that every afternoon, and that included dance and singing and lots of other things, voice and all the other lovely things that you get at drama school. Sort of an introductory to drama school, and still doing my A-levels in the morning. And then I was also part of the choir there, which is quite a serious choir. It's called the Tring Park 16. Big up Mr. Norris, Mr. Gary, absolute legends. And they did some amazing things with us 16 people. Before I joined, they'd already won BBC Choir of the Year, I think. Wow. And then when I joined, we did this thing called Pitch Battle, which I don't know if anyone caught it, but it was a series on BBC One Saturday night, and it was a talent competition that they did, which was run by the guy who wrote Pitch Perfect, Zeke Sharon. I've forgotten his name. Gareth Malone was on the panel, as was Khalees, and for our week, Joe Jonas.
Wow.
We sang on Saturday night telly as a choir. We sang Believer by Imagine Dragons. And then we got through, and then we sang with Nick Jonas, and it was absolutely mad. It was an incredible experience. And so those rehearsals for that choir were happening in the lunchtime. And then I was a prefect, and then it was just, and you're boarding for the first time as well, that I hadn't done before. So you're finishing this sort of crazy 12-hour day with trying to be a 16-year-old and do your washing and write 3 essays and rise and then get to bed. I got glandular fever by the second year. It was a lot. They just threw everything at you, and I'm a yes person, and I didn't know any of my limits then at all, and I took it too far, but also I have no regrets. I absolutely loved it. Had a great time. Special as well. Still got friends from there. So
absolutely. I get an image of you new guys walking in on the first day and then looking at you going, just so as you know, we won Choir of the Year, everyone win it again, so don't fuck this up. Exactly. No pressure.
And we went to this completely other world, so from prestigious choirs to the Jonas Brothers, and then the following year we did Llangollen Music Festival in North Wales, and we went there as well. So that was a great experience, and it was a beautiful choir. It was really well organised. So. Yeah,
sounds a great experience. At 16 to be exposed to those kind of people as well must have been a real treat, right?
For sure, and it was such a. I mean, it obviously didn't take off. It didn't return for any more seasons, but it was a unique thing that pulled in all sorts of creatives that I'm still sort of a little bit in touch with on socials and other bits of life I bump into. you know, a choreographer that I met on that show, or our MD for sort of looked after us and worked on us with, wrote a lot of the arrangements, and he's now sort of went on to write Choir of Man. So like all these kind of connections that of these people and getting introduced to this world, which is so unique because it was quiet, but it was also weirdly cool. I think. I mean, as cool as it gets.
Yeah. Oh God. Do you know who that was? The guy who did Choir of Man. Was it called Ben by any chance?
It's his partner, Jack Bloom.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I know there's another guy called, and he's not Ben Power. I'm not sure. And Ben Power's at the National.
Yeah, I think I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to quote them wrong. I think.
Hang on. Wait. I want to look this up. Just want to get the right name. So, let's have a look. So Ben Norris. Does that ring a bell?
That does ring a bell. I didn't meet him, but Jack was the one that did a lot of the arrangements and writing. I know he was developing it when we met him, and then it obviously went on to be really successful.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
So yeah, lots of things like that.
Oh, good. Yeah. No, I know Ben Power, not Ben Power. Ben Norris is attached to it in some way, but wasn't sure. It might have been later on rather than the original person that you did. But nice one. So yeah. Also, you're another member of the GSA family as well. You know, I've had quite a few people on here. You studied actor, musicianship. How was that?
I did. How was that? It's a big question. It was. I couldn't sum that experience up to you in adjectives. It was lots of amazing things, lots of challenging things. It came out of Tring, and I had places at uni to study English and history at, I think it was Durham and Exeter. And then I had a gap year planned, and then I wanted to audition for drama schools, not with the intention of going straight away, but to get the most out of the amazing advice that I had at Tring. And so when I got places, I then thought, okay, this might not happen again next year, and I had this tricky decision of what to do. And I was really fortunate that the actor musician course existed, because obviously drama schools are notoriously incredibly competitive, and the actor musician course brings that competition down to a much more manageable number. I mean, you're auditioning with maybe 200 people instead of 2,000. And it's not, you know, it's not every day. Not everyone has the privilege of being able to learn instruments. And so I really was incredibly fortunate, and still am, that that's been my way into this industry, because it's simply more or less available, which is a sad thing generically. And that's why, you know, we have to make sure that music stays in school. But a really great thing for me, and it's turned out. And yeah, the course itself was fantastic in a lot of ways. Some of the staff were brilliant at bringing all sorts of capacities onto the course. So you're still getting, it's under the musical theatre umbrella at GSA. You still have streamlined dance with the musical theatre students, and voice with the acting, not with the actor students, but the same teachers, and movement and all those kind of similar trainings to the teachers that you know, that I'm sure we'll have in common. All of that glorious GSA education, as well as very specific musicianship that was ensemble musicianship, and then individual instrumental lessons. I was there 2018 to 2021, and so COVID hit in the middle of my second year. So all of that good stuff that I'm saying is probably adhering to that first year and a half. After that, things became much more challenging, as the whole world did in the pandemic. It wasn't a great time to be doing a drama school course online. But I'm always hesitant to complain too much, because, you know, my sister was on a COVID ward.
Oh, was she?
So it feels wrong to sort of, you know, natter on about deprived third year drama training. But that kind of what it was very lacking in the sense of how the training was affected. But some of it was really useful. When it hit, we had that first term online in 2020, the end of second year. And I found that really useful. I focused on editing. We had self-tape briefs coming through. We had a particularly creative, adaptable brain from Neil Bailey, who was amazing and came up with these briefs, and my course, Nick Scrivens. Everyone was sort of really thinking about how we can make the most of this. And yeah, I did this big project where we were supposed to be doing Sondheim. I think we were doing Sweeney Todd that term.
Nice.
I think we didn't, but we ended up doing much more. We stayed with the Sondheim theme, and I ended up creating this sort of jazz arrangement of the Ballad of Sweeney Todd, which was really fun, and learning, writing a mic and learning how to record and all of that stuff, which has still come in really handy. So that was great. And then third year was much more challenging, in person, with huge restrictions of distance and masks, and singing with masks and screens, and physical contact, which in drama is just rubbish, as you know.
Yep, extremely.
So all of our dance was online, which was really, really challenging. And yeah, but I mean, it's put me on the path where I am now. The pandemic was actually, in a roundabout way, led to my first job at the Watermill, because I went to a Q&A Zoom about COVID in the industry, led by the Watermill. And then at the end of that Zoom, they offered the people that were still there, he sort of offered us a mock audition on Zoom. And I ended up going to that, and that led to an actual audition on Zoom and a workshop, etc., etc. And eventually I auditioned for their summer musical via Zoom, hadn't met anyone. And then I got the part. And I was still in third year. We were doing Richard III at the time, all socially distanced, and obviously live streamed, so there's no audience. But then I had this job to go to, and I missed my graduation because I was in rehearsals. So it was kind of trying to think about the positives of a tricky time, and that was definitely weirdly one of them, I think.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, throughout that time, I think where the industry was, I know COVID was it was an awful time for everybody, and, you say your sister was on a COVID ward, etc. But, and I don't mean but as in I'm comparing these in any way, but, I think, I really take my hat off to you guys, who sadly you didn't really have it's not as if you didn't have a choice or nothing, but, you were kind of hit with this thing. We all were hit with this thing. And, I remember going to drama school for like a little bit, then I deferred my place and I went back, and thankfully we had a year where it was, more or less over, and we were able to do everything we wanted to do, and I'm very grateful for that. But, it sounds like, I think, sounds like you guys really did have it's like you powered through and you made the most of it. From what you told me there, you made the most of that experience and everything. And, but yeah, I think it's, but thankfully things are better now. But having said that, like you say, it led to Othello at the Watermill, which was it was a very kind of, from what I've sadly I didn't see it, but it looks like, from what I've read about it, it was a very kind of different telling of Othello. It was like very kind of, I would say contemporary is the word I would use. Would I be right?
Yeah, I think you would be right. Othello was actually the second job I did at the Watermill, which came after Just So, which is the one I did that summer. And Othello was the first time I was in the building, which was nice because Just So was an outdoor production, so it was still a bit COVID-y.
Nice.
And yeah, it was a contemporary telling for sure. It felt very modern in its design, which was really fantastic. The design, all of it was a real, it was such a great taster of when people have what they're brilliant at and put in a room together, what can be created. I think of that production really fondly. It was, and I've worked with people from that production since. I'm about to work with someone again. Nice. It was great. I also had a really good, I was going to say lesson. I'm trying to be quite positive about things here, but it was very scary because I was playing Bianca in that production, and then lots of instruments and busy all the time and singing and part of the ensemble and a soldier, but my main role was Bianca. And then we had a situation where the girl Molly playing Desdemona got COVID. Felt fine, but we were just at the point, it was 2022, but we were still having to sort of irregularly test, I think.
It was still a bit weird at that time, wasn't it?
And so it was very, grey area of what had to be done, but essentially she wasn't allowed to come in. And I had about 24 hours and I was asked to learn Desdemona.
Right.
I'm glad that I was 22 and up for it, because I remember there were older people in the cast going, why are you doing that? Like, they're not paying you barely anything. It's a huge amount of money, but I just thought, this is amazing. This is a lead role in a Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And I'd watched her do it. And so all the stuff that I was on stage for went in super quick. The stuff where I'm usually up in the dressing room, sort of, playing cards or whatever during the run, that was a bit more challenging. I hadn't seen that as often, but particularly the Othello scenes, to try and get to a point, it's pretty horrendous what happens to her, and having to put that up with Kalungi was amazing. By the end of it, with very, very little rehearsal. I mean, we had one rehearsal where we sort of workshopped some bits, but we hadn't run it through until the first performance, which was a Saturday night. And I did it off book. And it was, incredible. I mean, that was a lesson that I was. Thank you. It was very, very nice to get that experience, and it was, the stuff you get at drama school and it is amazing. But when you get an opportunity like that, I think you're really tested about what you can bring from a skill base. And I was fortunate to be a quick line learner and dedicated, and it went in.
Yeah. So I suppose the obvious next question is, how did you do that? With difficulty. It was really scary. It was 24 hours, a whole Shakespeare, Desdemona. Are you kidding?
I remember walking out in her costume. Although they'd found me some trousers because I'm not taller than she is. But usually I'm a soldier in that first scene where she comes out and does her speech. And I remember just walking out, and it was such a feeling of just feeling like, just looking at me going, I'm not in the right place here. Fortunately, I'd auditioned with the Desdemona monologue, so that was still in my blood a little bit. So I'd learned that for the audition. So I had that for free, which was great. And then a lot of it had gone in. I mean, we were quite far, 2/3 into the run at this point. So a lot of it had gone in by osmosis. You've been hearing it a lot. But like I said, the scenes with Kalungi that was usually somewhere else, up in because the Watermill doesn't have wings per se. It has stairs that go straight up to the dressing room. So if you're not on stage, you're in the dressing rooms. So yeah, those were definitely more challenging. And I didn't sleep very much, but I did it. Right. And I had a little book as well, a little diary, tiny little black book, and I'd written anything that I thought that I would, if I totally panicked, I knew that was on stage somewhere, and I could go and get it, and I could save myself. You can't improvise Shakespeare. Well, I can't improvise Shakespeare. So I had that on the bed the whole time. That was under the pillow, and I knew that if I needed it, I would just. Sometimes I had it in my hand, just. But I didn't actually open it once. So yeah.
No, it's not uncommon. I remember at the Globe, actually, sometimes I was a steward there the summer before lockdown and stuff. That was a crazy summer. I would have had my pub job at the time, then I would jump on a train that goes to the Globe in the evening, or be at the Globe in the afternoon, then pub job in the evening, all that kind of stuff. It was a crazy summer. But I thought, people were like, you're not being paid for it. It's a volunteer thing. I say, excuse me, I get to see Shakespeare at the Globe for free, and all I have to do is just say, where's your seats? Oh, it's over there. Where's your madam's over there? It's fine. And it was ice cream. I was like, no, none of that stuff. Seat cushion. And I just thought, why not? Let's just see what it's all about. I was definitely I was probably the youngest one there, but I didn't care. It was great fun. And I just remember seeing, there was a couple of performances actually where they actually came out beforehand, and they said, hi everybody, just to let you know, one of our main guys, and we don't get a lot of public funding here, so we can't afford understudies, unfortunately. One of our guys has gone off sick today, and so long story short, we've called a friend at the last minute, and he's going to come in, so we're letting them use a script. So otherwise, we've just got no other way of doing the show. We don't want you to be disappointed. So the whole time, this guy walked out on stage, and he had this they made like a little portable version of it, or something like this, and he did brilliantly. He was in the scene and like observing everyone, taking it all in, and just okay. And then the next bit, just checking that it was all there. But sometimes it happens. Sometimes needs must. I don't know if they'll probably do it in the West End, because the West End, they've got money and they've got understudies.
You'd hope so.
Yeah. Well, at least I hope they do anyway. But but it happens. Sometimes you'd be like, and the audience was like, yeah, okay, fine, no problem at all. And I felt they all gave him an extra round when they did their curtain call at the end. The whole cast just looked at him and just like singled him out, and he was like, "Okay, thank you very much." So, I'm coming back later in the year, As You Like It. I will know that. I don't remember them saying, but it happens, man. Yeah, but I mean, tell me about when you got off stage that night after you finished that, and from what it sounds like it went smoothly. But when you came off stage, how are you feeling?
Yeah, that really was a point of high feelings. I don't know what feelings. I mean, it was. I was really nervous that first time, and I remember looking forward to do it twice. I think
Nice.
I think it was Saturday matinee and Saturday evening.
Nice.
And so I remember coming off after the first one, and a huge amount of relief, obviously, but also excitement to know that I got to do it again and enjoy it, because I knew that it was possible and it could be done. And you've got one out of the way, and then you can actually think, okay, I'm going to really enjoy this next one, and try and not act it a bit more, but be in it a bit more. And rather than the first time you do a run through, right, with lines in your head, a lot of it is a bit of a memory test.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, those first few ones where you get up and you walk around and suddenly your brain goes, and then you start like trusting everybody and like engaging with your scene partners, and eventually your brain's like, okay, what's my next line? He's like, sorry, what is it? He's like, oh yeah, but you sound like a real risk taker, Laura. You really do, like someone who's just like, we need this. But and funny enough, on your, I think it's on your spotlight actually, was the director who actually said, like, she stepped in at a moment's notice, and we were just like, we're eternally grateful or something. Wait, I think I've got the quote here actually. Okay, so this is from someone called Peter Vinley at the Watermill, and he says, Laura has stepped up to be Desdemona with one day's notice and carried it off extremely well, entirely off book. As Laura was now Desdemona, she had to do both, play and sing, which she did beautifully. So
there was that moment in we sang what Desdemona sang, Killing Me Softly. Yes, I think it was that. Yeah. And it was gorgeous when she did it. But I was playing guitar for that moment.
Wow.
At the side of the stage, involved, but not the focus of the scene at all. And so when it came, because obviously I was still having to incorporate moments of my track into when I was playing Desdemona, and then someone else covered my Bianca moments so that wouldn't be confusing. Mm-hmm. But musically, as much as possible, I had to play as much as I could. And so, yeah, suddenly I was in a position, and we haven't really got to that point. So I suddenly, for the first time in the run, thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to play and sing it at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice one. So if that opportunity came around again, Desdemona, I love that. Like, you're the first one on the billing for this one here. 8 shows a week, same ways you did it before. Would you do it again?
Absolutely, it would be a no-brainer, and to play that role with prep time and rehearsal,
that'd be nice.
That would be super. It's an amazing role, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So how did you? Obviously, it would sound like a different version of it, but I've talked about Shakespeare on here many times, and will continue to, because it's just absolutely, like, it's the most beautiful language you'll ever just read or just speak. I mean, how did you approach it? Like, what's your process when you break down Shakespeare?
Good question. I think for me, Shakespeare is something that I like to see more than I like to read. And I think it was written to be seen. I mean, even when he was writing scraps of paper to give to different actors, and he never really saw the complete play in one chunk. And that definitely was the case with my love of Shakespeare as well. At school, I wasn't hugely as interested at all as I am now. And I think it was when I studied Hamlet at A level, and I started to really understand, and obviously you have to really deep analysis for A level, don't you? So
massively.
when I actually started to understand it, though, to a point where I thought, oh my, but then we saw Papaesadu in Hamlet. I think it was at Hackney, and I saw that production, and then I also got to see Andrew Scott do Hamlet at the LAMDA.
Yeah.
I think those two things really made me appreciate, because then you get it. When you start to get it, it's in terms of fully understand line by line that joke, that double entendre, that meaning, that metaphor, it suddenly completely unlocks for you. And so I think from an actor's perspective, I would start there of making sure that I just genuinely hand on heart understand everything that's being said, because I think as actors we can be quite quick to say that we do when we necessarily don't, or we just haven't. You really have to put the work in to make sure you are fully in command of what you are saying in every way. And then I try to pretend that it's not Shakespeare after that, and an entirely honest, and not contemporary doesn't feel the right word, but I guess I am contemporary as I live in this 2025. So I would deliver it as I would your next piece of contemporary text.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember it's really simple, is that once you know what you're talking about, like, then it just flows and the images start coming to you, and you're like, wow, what is this? What is this text? And, it's 400 years old. I remember going to see, I was lucky to see Andrew Scott's Hamlet as well at the Almeida Live as well. That really was an experience, and a very, very good one, I might add. But I was also lucky enough to see Benedict Cumberbatch do it at the Barbican, which
at the NT Live, yeah.
NT Live, yeah. And they did. Funny enough, just a little side note. Ended up doing what's it called? The professional placement at the National a year and a half later, as part of my degree. And one night we were up in the director's office and with the crew there, and I got talking to this lady. I can't remember her name, but she was like, I said to her, "So what do you do?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm part of the tech group. We oversee NT Live and stuff." And I was like, "Oh wow, really?" She was like, "Yeah." I said to her, "How many?" Because I remember Benedict's one sold out in seconds, and there was 101 screenings across the country because so many people wanted to see it. And I said to her, "How many encores of Hamlet did you do, around the country? How many different screenings did you do?" And she said, "I have no idea. I think it was about 5, 6, maybe probably even 7." And I just went, unashamedly, I said, "Well, I went to all of them. I went to all of them." And I'm lucky enough, I even saw it live in the theatre as well. I couldn't get enough. But I remember while we were there, someone in the audience said, at the interval, it's like, "Oh, I've been reading Hamlet for years, and I've only just realised what that scene in particular meant. Oh, that's what he's banging on about." And it's like, as soon as you hear it live,
it's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And
I get that. I get why we don't like it at school, why you don't read Romeo and Juliet suddenly.
Oh,
feel excited. I mean, why would you? It's just not supposed to be in that medium, I don't think.
Yeah. I remember, when you hear other people, remember in school when other people used to read the parts and you used to just listen and just read along. God, I don't know about you, but I sat through some tough reads.
I realised I just rolled my eyes, and we're on a podcast. I have to actively say, I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just, it's amazing. And I suppose really so many people, these characters are 400 years old, and, everyone's got a different interpretation of them. But for you specifically, I know you only did it, for 2 performances, but Desdemona, who do you think she is? Who is she to you?
I think she's someone, it's hard to take her out of the context that she's in the sort of horrendous position that she ends up finding herself in. But at the beginning, she's, this privileged daughter who's fallen in love, if that's your reading of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think trying to strip away all of that about what's around her and what she isn't and isn't allowed to do. She's just someone that's fallen in love, and she's passionate about that, and she's got that spice that Shakespeare.
It's Hamlet. This is a different thing.
A bit crazy. That spice that I think Shakespeare wrote in some of his female characters that still shocks me when I I did something earlier this year in Taming of the Shrew, and I was so shocked at the amount of, I don't know if spice is the right word, but sort of, I guess, like feminist viewpoints that some of the female characters have in a very hidden way amongst the sort of, you know, societal boundaries that he was allowed to write at that time. And I think Desdemona has some of those that are really exciting to play, whilst keeping those very real constraints of the time. And it's not a feminist part per se, but it's I found that interesting for the performances that I did get.
Yeah, and it's almost like spiritual karma. I always find with her, because obviously, like, spoiler alert, she dies at the end. She's killed by Othello based off Iago's lies, which he's allowed to infiltrate his brain and just completely, you know, just, I don't know, just say he manipulated him is doing it is putting it very, very mildly. But then he has that speech where he says to Desdemona's sadly corpse, and he's like begging for forgiveness. It's not so much begging for forgiveness, but he's realizing what he's done. And he has that fantastic line, wash me in steep down gulfs of liquid fire. And you hear that live, and you just, not only is it beautiful, but wash me in gulfs of liquid fire. Take my body and put it in molten rock and just let me burn. And, you know, I mean, that imagery, man, is fucking crazy.
It's very powerful, particularly when you have just watched somebody be strangled. Yeah. Put it like, after seeing this loving relationship that ends in something so horrendous, and then, and you get imagery like that, it's very powerful.
I just got one last question about that. You know, obviously it was at a time when, you know, we were just coming out of the pandemic and stuff, but the actual scene where unfortunately Desdemona's demise, I mean, how did you stage that? Did you have full stage combat? Was there contact and all that stuff, or was it?
Absolutely was contact. We were safe from COVID in the way of, we weren't social distancing on stage. It was still a thing that people were cautious about. So when he came up, she wasn't able to perform, but she felt fine, and we were all fine. So it was sort of that era, more the fear of it than the reality of it, I think. But yes, it was very much that. I mean, we had managed to have a fight call, and I was able to go through that safely with our fight captain. And it was, I think it was genuinely scary in a lot of ways for me as a actor, not in terms of safety, but to go through that having had very little rehearsal. And even watching, I remember watching it creeping sort of on the stairs sometimes to try and watch that moment when Molly was doing it. And it's not a nice thing to watch. It feels very weird at that time, and very heavy. And I think our directors did that moment justice.
It's you know, and like you watch that scene and you know that, you know, as an audience member, I suppose you feel very complicit, so you can't do anything. You want to run up there and say, look, Iago's been lying to you this whole time. She's innocent. Stop what you're doing. And then when you're watching the next event happen, you're just, it's heartbreaking, that play. It really is. Like a lot of Shakespeare, it's beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time.
Absolutely. It's the two things that make it interesting when you have both, right? I think if you just had one, it would be boring.
Yeah, that's true. Well, congrats on that. Anyway, let's so music. So yes, you, as I was mentioning in the intro, you played so many different things, but obviously we'll preface that by asking, music, where did the love of that come from?
Where did the love of that come from? That's always been there, I'm afraid. It's we had a piano at home that my mum played a little bit, but like I said, there's this one piece that she knows that she can play really well, because me and my sister are both since learned, because you can it sparks prelude and C, and you can like the two hands work together, and it sounds really beautiful and quite complex, even though it's sort of, rather than doing opposing things. And so that was we always had a big music household. My dad was a lot of the Pink Floyd, funnily enough, which is the thing that I'm dealing a lot with working at the moment on. And I was really fortunate to have singing lessons and do Stagecoach and the saxophone. The saxophone has proved incredibly useful to where I am today. So I'm very grateful to have had that introduction, and to my previous self for practicing and doing the exams and sticking with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, so I think it looks like saxophone is. I mean, wait. Well, I'll ask you this: is this your favorite? Is that your favorite one? Yeah,
I think it probably is. It's the one that I get to play the most. I'm probably the best at, and it feels like the most soulful, in the sense that it's an extension of the voice in a way, and maybe that's because I'm more able or more capable compared to other instruments that I play, but it's still got that breath. And the reason the voice is such an emotive instrument is because you can hear sort of humanness in it. And for me, the saxophone is that equivalent.
Yeah, and do you know what? I have to mention this. I went through some of your things on Instagram. I saw you playing you're in I can't remember which station it was, but you're on the London Underground at 3 a.m. and you're making the most of the acoustics when no one's around, and you're just going for it with your saxophone all across the platform. And don't get me wrong, it sounded amazing, by the way. I'm not just saying that, but that looked like a lot of fun, I have to say.
that was fun. I had just come back from a gig and then rushed to a friend's birthday that I really wanted to attend, and obviously was incredibly late for and only caught the last half hour of, but then was subsequently in an empty tube station with a saxophone, and there was like a 25-minute wait for a tube. I was just with my friend, and that happened. I was completely sober, but
yeah, I love the little tag you put on there. Sorry, TfL workers.
Yeah, I did feel a bit bad, but there literally was no one there. And I have done worse. I've done much more public tube station things. I played with a guy who makes sort of boogie woogie style type videos on the public pianos at St Pancras. Mm-hmm. I was coming from an audition and going to Budapest on a girls' holiday that I had to. It was sort of 4 or 5 day holiday, and obviously an audition comes through
as you do,
right? So I had to delay my flights, and I went to the audition, and I had to play my sax and clarinet, I think it was, and I wanted to get the quickest flight that I could. So I had a really great friend, meet me in the station so I could give her my stuff and then quickly go to the airport. And this is all relevant because my friend saw him playing, and she's really musical. She's a Tring friend, actually. And she said, you've got to see this guy. We've got to dance. He's brilliant. And we go up to, we're watching him, and he comes up to me and says, what's that? What's a saxophone? Get out then. And I've got 20 minutes till I need to get my train to Luton to get on the plane.
Yeah.
And I end up playing with him just some improv blues stuff. It was super fun, and so quickly a massive crowd of people. Like, it was actually, I've never busked or anything at that point, and so it was a really fun, quite nerve-wracking experience where you're just playing, but saxophone carries, it's very reverberant, and then people were putting coins in my case, and it was hilarious and so surreal. And then I was chatting to him afterwards a little bit, and then dashed off, and he told me in this little interview that he'd been filming it the whole time, and he said, I do a bit of social media, you can check me out. So on the train, I then look him up on social media. He's already posted the video on YouTube, and it's already got like 100K. This guy is like, he does this is his job, he just does this for social media. So suddenly I'm getting all these messages through, and that was kind of an eye-opening experience to sort of the power of putting yourself out there, because that actually, I was told when I then got offered to go to Qatar that they had seen me on socials playing the saxophone, which is maybe how that helped me get there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought that's a great example of like you get like we always like in these days of social media and YouTube, Instagram, you dream about something going viral and people seeing you for the first time. And sometimes it happens when you entirely least expect it. You just think like you got some guy with a camera playing the piano in St Pancras, which just for the record, I think is a brilliant idea, by the way, because I can't tell you how many times I've been walking through St Pancras station and someone's been banging out Bach or Elton John or some like movie piece or some like Beatles or something like that, and people just gather around because it's like I can't play the piano. That's on my bucket list. It's on my to-do list at some point. But just just to hear someone play a song like that and without even just thinking about it, I mean, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. But anyway, the thing is like. Then there's a saxophone and a piano, which is a beautiful combination by itself, by the way. And do you remember what you played, or was it just like a random bit of everything?
Blues, really sort of bass line, that kind of very up tempo, fun, totally improv. Yeah, there was no
Yeah,
tune in terms of a melody. I mean, I was completely improvising. I
yeah,
think I remember. I didn't realize he was filming, so you can find it on YouTube. It's quite long, so I'm setting up for ages because I've got my clarinet in my case and figuring it all out. And then suddenly he's playing and I'm playing, and it's all happening. It was a proper whirlwind.
wow, yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's just one of those moments where you just think, yeah, I'll just have a little mess around, and next thing you know, you're being videoed for the right reasons, by the way, and then suddenly everyone starts to know who you are, and it's just one of those things like don't expect too much, always just go through life loving what you're doing, and then all these rewards just happen when you least expect it. But yeah,
Exactly that, because I felt quite a lot of pressure after that to make more things for socials and try and keep
yeah,
active, put yourself out there. And I just after that experience, I not long went into Othello, which was an all-consuming process, and I wasn't sort of being creative and playing the saxophone for videos. And then you put the pressure on yourself to make stuff that's really good, and
mm,
actually, you have to respect the people that do that full time because it's a full time job. I mean, to be a content creator now is a
yeah,
seriously admirable and recognized career because
a
it's
career, yeah,
basically marketing, and you're doing it in a very creative way. And I find that a bit challenging because there's a pressure to stay on it and stay active, and it's also all consuming and it takes up your time when you don't want it to, like we all do. All of that side of it, I'd rather slightly just come off, but it's also on the other side of the coin. It's a really nice way to get creative and to be inspired by other people's ideas and bounce off each other and collaborate, as we've seen.
hmm
Um, that was one maybe big thing the pandemic that really helped that take off. So yeah, double-edged sword, but I was definitely lucky in the way that it got me without me asking at that moment. And now I just tend to, if I have free time, make something because I want to make it. And if it goes up there, it goes up there. If it doesn't,
yeah, exactly. And I feel like and so we'll get on to like your multi instrumentalist stuff in a second, but what is it about the saxophone that you love so much?
I gosh, it's a good question. I don't know. I really love it. I think it's a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you play saxophone? That's my favorite instrument." Or, "I love the saxophone. I wish I could play the saxophone." And I wonder if it's maybe that it makes a lot of people happy. Seems to.
Yeah,
It's
it's a fun instrument.
yeah, it feels like a fun instrument. It's not taking itself too seriously, is it? I mean, it's just like shaped like a weird thing. I guess it's quite, it's versatile in the way that it can make people happy because some people really, that dive into jazz and complex harmony and that whole world of incredible technique love it in that way. But also, I go out and do sort of DJ sax parties, and like in Qatar, I was playing with a lot of DJs around world, and that's a really universal, instant attraction for that instrument, where people seem to connect with it in like an evening's like nightclub setting.
Yeah,
Or it can be your, you know, sort of soft emotional, that kind of like narrative thing that I was talking about earlier, but being an extension of the voice. So yeah, maybe that.
yeah. I feel like, you know, I don't know if you've ever watched The Simpsons or anything, but do you remember the character? It's very, very early on. I think it's in the first ever season. There's an episode where Lisa meets a saxophone. Is it the first series? I'm not sure, but anyway, very early on, Lisa meets the saxophone guy. You know, he's quite a big fella. He's got like sunglasses and a hat, like a woolly hat on the whole time. And in one episode, he ends up in hospital, and sadly, he passes on. And there's a scene at the end where she's saying like goodbye to him, like his spirit or something like that. There's so many different times of playing the saxophone and everything. And this last scene, they just start banging out the saxophone, and you just, I don't know about you, well you know much more than I do, but it puts you in a mood of like real chill, really happy, and like the first word, another word that comes into mind is jazz. It like puts you in a jazz mood, which is chill, which is vibe, which makes you happy. It's like have another glass of wine, have another cigarette, have another whiskey, just sit back, enjoy the music.
Absolutely, I think that's a really good way to describe it. It's quite it's rich, and it's like a rich red wine.
It is. Yeah. I suppose you can't really use it for any other genre, can you? It's just, I think it kind of has it.
Well,
Or can
I've
you?
had that sort of challenge with the fact that I end up doing a lot of acting musician stuff, and it comes into contexts where it might not have been invented since something earlier this year in a D.H. Lawrence play. And I was thinking to myself, oh, we're you know, 1920s was Adolf Saxon when he sort of made that a thing. And Lawrence was before that. So, but we found a way. The sound, I don't think, is the issue. It's more, you know, if you're being really pinnacle about dates and things, then yes, it doesn't belong. But you can do things like play the soprano sax, which has got a much brighter and folky sound to it. So in moments where I've been involved in productions with a more folk sound or a more folk song, that's tend to be what I offer, because it feels really right in those moments. It's a bit more like an oboe, but not quite. It's still got that mellow sound of the saxophone, and then the Barry, which is the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the really massive one that can play bass lines, which is not what you would expect from a saxophone, and that is really fun and not jazz at all. And yeah, so I don't know. I found ways, I think, of they've been new to me that aren't new, but of exploring about how it can be more versatile.
Yeah. And how do you play it? How does it work?
How do you play the saxophone?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would say it's a woodwind instrument, which some people tend to not know. It often gets put on the brass family, but it is part of the woodwind family because it has a reed. So the mouthpiece has this sort of cane reed that makes contact with the mouthpiece, and you put that on your bottom lip, and you put your teeth over the top of the mouthpiece, and you bite gently down and create a bit of a seal, and then you blow through the instrument, and it has a very similar button structure to the recorder, if anyone learned that at school. And then it has an octave key to change the octaves. And I would say that the fingers are probably the easiest part, and there's a lot of crossover from them from the clarinet and even the flute and other woodwind instruments. And I would say it's, besides from the mouthpiece and creating a good what's called an embouchure, which is the sort of position of your mouth, that can be quite challenging for beginners to get a grasp of that. But once you've got a bit of control over that and you've got the fingers, it is quite an accessible instrument to be able to play quickly. I think it's probably one of the hard ones to master a nice tone. I would say that's kind of, some instruments it takes a really long time to be able to play, and therefore motivation can be tricky when you're teaching someone for the first time. well, like, piano is probably the easiest of them all to sort of, anyone can play the piano in theory. 3-year-old can whack out Twinkle Twinkle, but obviously it takes years and years to master a really advanced tone. So I'd say, I don't know if that answers the question. That's probably my
No, definitely. Yeah, no, because it is. I remember a music teacher in school called Mr. Bainbridge, and he plays like the flute, the trumpet, a lot of like woodwind instruments, if you can call it that. I remember him trying to describe how to use a flute, how to blow into a flute or something like that, and it was like a very specific position of the mouth and like a sort of like thing that you had to do or something. Even just the way you put air into these instruments sounds technical. Obviously, not just going or anything like that. It's very technical. Why is that?
Why is that? I don't know actually, but you're right. It is very technical, and that's the part that just takes practice. I mean, you find what works in order to make a certain sound, and then you stick with it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a good lead on to your again via Instagram. I'm not stalking you, by the way, but your Seven Nation Army performance, where you combine all the instruments I've talked about in the intro, and you've got a loop pedal in front of you. So yeah, how was that experience building literally from scratch?
Yeah, fun. I absolutely love doing that, because as a saxophonist, you can't sing at the same time, point number one.
Yep.
And you often sound best with someone else. It's a really collaborative instrument, in my opinion, and you get that sort of harmonic backing from a guitar, a piano, or a band, and then you're the melody or the decoration or the embellishments. And so it's coming into the actor musician world, where you try and incorporate, my love of acting, and that being my thing that I want to do, and then finding that music is really helpful, and also loving that and how to incorporate both. You often need a way to facilitate yourself singing in auditions and productions and all sorts. So that's when I sort of started to pick up the guitar and bits of piano, because that's really helpful. It allows you to sing on a very basic level. The loop pedal, I'm trying to think when that came. Do you know what? I have to credit my dad. My dad got me one for Christmas.
Nice.
Yeah, he got me one for Christmas a few years ago, and I wasn't sure how I was going to use it. When he gave it to me, I was thinking, don't worry about this. Like, it's a very kind thought, but I'm not a guitarist. Like, I can play guitar, but I'm not a guitarist. And I wasn't sure. And then I had an audition for the National, I think it was. Yes, it was the National, and it was a young company of it was their I forgot, is it called First Encounters, or is that I'm getting confused between the RSC.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
RSC First Encounters, and then the National one is called something else, I've forgotten. And it was, the audition was you had a brief, and I think it was some sort of text, just one line or something, and then it said creatively respond to that with a 2-minute performance of any medium of your choosing.
Uh-huh.
And so I got this loop pedal out and I managed to find a way to play this kind of, it was song, but it was very spoken word and very narratively driven. But I built it up starting with the guitar, which allows you to have that harmonic backing. And then you can also use the guitar as sort of a percussive nature. And as you saw in that video, it gives you a bit of a beat. And layered up my other instruments, because the different, it's really fun sometimes to think about the different tones and feelings and sounds that you can get from a clarinet and a flute. And it's not necessarily just, sometimes I feel like it comes across as, look what I can play, but I mean, in an audition sense, that's very much what you're trying to do. But also, it's really, it's really lovely to be able to combine those things together, because you're one person, you have one mouth, you have two sets of hands, can't sing and play all these instruments at the same time. So this pedal allows you to build it up and use all of those things together, which is really cool. And I when I was looking into how to do it, I remember struggling quite a lot because all the advice I was getting was just for guitarists, and people. I remember going to a shop and they're going, how are you miking a flute? How are you? Because it gets quite technical. You have to think about how everything's going through the system, and you can't just play and hope for the best. So it's been a bit of a trial and error, experimentation, but I've since used it in quite a few auditions. I used it in my Unbelievable audition, which was the show I did, which was directed by Darren Brown and was at the Criterion Theatre, and was an amazing job. And yeah, it's been really handy.
Yeah, I remember seeing Ed Sheeran do it at Wembley actually one time and going, and like he would layer, like obviously he just used the guitar, but it was like the bass line, the main riff, the little solo bits, the kind of supporting acts things, if you can call it that, all just in one thing, and then it's just like you just pedal stuff like, hey, I want this one now, this one now, this one now, and I look at the thing that takes like, I mean, not only is it a lot of talent in there, like to use something like that, but also like, how do you? I suppose a question that came into my head there was like, obviously, like the order of how to layer it. Obviously, it starts with the drums or the drum beat, then the bass line, and then the guitar. Is there like a specific way of doing it?
I think no is the answer. I think it really allows you to be creative, and you've reminded me of why I potentially got a lot better at it, which was a production I did last year called Midsummer, and that was a play with music, and it was at One and the Mercury theatres, and that was sort of built upon a loop pedal. I think that was our musical director Paul Herbert, his sort of idea, and that was it was a four-hander rom-com, and two of us were sort of the acting musos of the production, then two people were sort of the love interest, and me and Will, who were playing all these instruments and all of the other characters, by the way, which was super, super fun. But from a musical perspective, were able to layer up all the different things. He plays so many things as well, but luckily we worked really well together because he does lots more of the guitar, cello, family, drums, piano, everything. And so that helped me get really good at it, because I was doing it in a show, and I opened the show by coming out in front of this loop pedal with the guitar, and I started, like you said, with that percussive beat, and it was just sort of 4 onto the guitar, and then clicking the pedal, and then layering everything up to try and introduce the concept of what was happening to the audience. And then we used it. So it was so fun because we got to use it in scenes with, there were moments of tension, and there was the bad guy that came along, right? And so I would play a bit of bass. I don't really play the bass, but I've learned it on a basic level for some shows. And I was, ding, 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 and you can sort of record that in and play it back so that it plays throughout the scene, and then you can choose when to stop it and when to play it. And it's such a great tool for that. So it doesn't have to be this kind of percussion based melody song, but that is also a nice order to create a lovely ensemble sound.
Yeah, I mean it's all like built entirely from scratch, and you see, I think Ed Sheeran actually told this story publicly once, that he got a complaint from a member of the audience saying that, and he was like, well, what was the complaint? And he said, well, this couple complained they want their money back because they think that you played with a backing track and or a band they couldn't see the whole time. And he said, right, before we go any further, look at my feet. This is a loop station. Everything you hear tonight is live. Everything is live looped. Everything is live built. Everything is live. I want to stress that point.
It's almost like he's gotten too good at it, because there was a fine balance in our show as well of people that didn't understand the pedal and what was happening, and we wanted to introduce each part slowly to build it on top of each other, but not so slowly that it can be boring, because if you layer and layer and layer and layer for ages, and you let the layer go on for too long, it becomes quite repetitive, and it's a bit of an art to try and find a good chunk of the song that can be repeated. Because the other thing that Ed's amazing at is that he writes full songs using this pedal that change harmonically throughout. So you have to be really intelligent about how you loop things, because if you had the same 4 chords going out for the whole time, you're restricted in some ways. So yeah,
Yeah. I always love how have you tried vocal looping yet?
that's so fun. You can like build a choir yourself with
Yeah. And
chords.
that's that's very cool. Yeah. I suppose really like as a singer, like, I just want to ask you this quickly about because like when as creatives, like we have to listen to ourselves back or watch ourselves back, etc. But when you like, was that something that always came naturally to you, hearing yourself back, particularly if you're building a loop choir of yourself? Are you sort of used to it now, or is it still a bit like, is
I
that
would
what it sound like?
I would say used to it in that context when you're
Yeah,
sort of making and creating something and you have
yeah,
to, or you're editing your own voice and you have to hear it 1,000 times. Um, that that kind of you get used to, but I don't know. It's definitely still strange if you hear recordings of yourself and you're watching from from a not involved perspective. So I don't know, as part of an audience, or if you're watching yourself on screen, or as some work that you've done as an actor, I think that I don't know if that ever goes away, that sort of feeling of,
yeah,
I mean, no one likes the sound of their own voice, right? Let alone,
yeah. I find it hard to watch myself back on self tapes and stuff. I'm like, God, it's like, is that how I talk? Is that how I? Oh God.
it's hard to not be biased because you look at yourself and you see things that other people genuinely don't see, or the
Yeah,
opposite. Um, yeah, and we don't talk about that, how you have to, with self tapes, you're your own director, producer, lighting, editor. Often you're the other character too in
yeah,
post. Um, so yeah, you really have. I think you do have to get over it to an extent.
yeah. I think eventually you do, but then like as you say, like well as we all say, we're our own biggest critics in a way. We as you said there, we find things that other people would be turned off by, or they think, oh God, did I talk like that? Is everyone going to want to talk to me? It's like, oh, for goodness sake, Oliver, what's wrong with you? Of course, they're going to. No one notices these things. The only person who notices these things is you. So, yeah. In other words, don't worry about it. It's not there, not there at all. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I just got a few more things left for you, Laura. Then we can sort of finish up. So I've got to get this story in. Qatar, the World Cup. Explain.
Explain. Good question. Well, that was a very unexpected email to receive.
Yeah.
I was asked to go out there as part of an events company, which provided lots of entertainment for the cup and for the pre-match entertainment, as well as the post-match and I was going to say interval, but half time.
Halftime show.
Yeah, exactly. God, tell I'm from. But yeah, it was super fun. Got to go with a group of people who were all from the UK and were performers of all kinds, circus, acrobats, musicians, yeah, you name it. So that was, but we had some like football skill people. Terrible terminology. What do you call them when they do really impressive tricks and things?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
lots of different entertainment, and then I went as part of a. I actually went as part of a band that
Oh
I
yeah.
knew a couple of guys in this band, and they needed a saxophonist, so that's how I got involved. But I ended up doing a lot of work out there solo when I got out there, which was more challenging in a lot of ways because there was a lot going on in Qatar. There was a lot to think about,
Yeah.
and suddenly you're walking around a stadium with your heels on and a nice dress and your saxophone, playing to VIPs, sheikhs and very wealthy people, family and friends of the footballers, and these amazing lounges with sort of silver plates and lobster and caviar and everything being served, and
Yeah. It's all right for some, isn't it?
yeah, very different from my experience of football to that point. Um, and that was yeah, it was pretty eye-opening in a lot of ways. And getting the performance element of that sort of pre-match stuff was quite calm and more of a soft sort of atmospheric lounge atmosphere, paid sort of chill sort of jazz type music, and I often tried to sort of cater what I played to the teams that were playing that day. And sometimes at the beginning it was 4 matches a day in the tournament.
The group stages.
Really, the group stages were full on, and we worked really hard, and you had to get to the stadium. I can't remember, but we were there all day because of security and everything else, and we were playing for 3 hours pre-match. We had to then be there 3 hours before that, so you were there the whole time, and you're there with not a huge, like, once you're in. So yeah, it was hard work, and it was rewarding because it was so new. The country, the culture, the fact the whole world was looking at it, and it was buzzing with loads of different people, and we got glimpses of the games, which was really exciting. A couple of times we were allowed to watch from the VIP section, which was amazing. It was very strict, so you had to be invited, and it was really fun, and it was great to have other people there to experience that with, because sometimes when I was performing it felt quite solo. But then the complete opposite, after the games, I was then put into the DJ villages, which were sort of where people could go who had a level of VIP ticket, because you had to pay extra for it. You could drink in this area, and there was food and much more entertainment, and it was a place to go after the match that you could pay for, but it wasn't the sort of chill lounge of the pre-match. And so then you've got DJs from all around the world playing on these stages in these villages, and I would go and play my saxophone along with them, and I wouldn't know what music was coming or what styles were coming my way, and it was a real lesson. I had to get good really quickly. I could improvise before, but it was a great throw in the deep end way to get better at improvising, and it really helped me in that way, because for 5 weeks I was sort of being met with this challenge. And as the tournament went on, the matches got more infrequent, and we had more days off to get to explore where we were. And I have to say, it was a really interesting country. I thought it was really interesting place, and I was very fortunate at the time that I was there, because from what I'd heard, and I was maybe a bit apprehensive about going before, it was on the news a lot of stuff in Qatar, and I had an incredibly warm reception, and everyone that I met was very lovely. It was so safe because of the laws and the culture, the way there's no bike locks, there's people leave their laptop on tables to reserve a seat. It's just very, very different culture, and I love traveling, and I was very lucky to get to go and experience that, and I'm aware that might not be how it is all the time, but it was.
But you were there for when it was the center of the world at that point. At a World Cup at a different time of the year, because it was on November, December time, because obviously the weather, etc. But even at that time of year, it's still incredibly hot around that year. I don't know what the temperature was like when you were there, but
it was boiling, and the matches were sort of, as we got on, they were 10 p.m. most times. We were getting there super early before that, and then because it was the after show entertainment, I was staying till so late.
Wow.
There'd be extra time, and I remember watching the matches going, please someone score.
Enough.
Half an hour, and then pens, and then
penalties now, and you're like, oh, fuck off.
I'd run to the village and start the second half of work at 2 in the morning. It was mad. I mean, there's no other experience that you can really compare to that kind of. It was such a unique opportunity, and I turned down an acting job that I got offered at the time.
Oh wow!
Because I was also offered that, and I was in a real dilemma of what to do. And I'm very grateful that I went and did that, because acting jobs come and go, and I don't know if playing at the World Cup does. That was kind of the basis that I took it on, and I learned a lot in a different way.
Yeah, so once every 4 years, so make the most of it.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like there that it was like entire full-on days of just pure improv all the time. It's
Yeah,
like
I mean,
you
yeah.
yeah, you just hear like the track come on, you go, okay. So your brain must have had 101 different melodies, bass lines, riffs. I mean, you must have been like a walking encyclopedia of music after that.
I think you tend to, it gets to a point when I started sort of doing more of this improv stuff, I studied really hard and made sure that like if I had an event coming up, I would go through all the popular stuff in the charts and know what keys they were in,
Yeah.
because I trust my ability to identify what key it was in and then just play. And I'm all right at just playing when I know what key it's in, but back then I wasn't very confident with that. And then it gets to a point where you have, and it was probably in Qatar that changing point for me, because I remember towards the beginning of the tournament prepping as much as I could,
Yeah.
and just realizing that actually at some point you have got to let it go. It's a bit like acting in that way. You do all of your prep, you learn everything, and then you
just gotta
yeah,
forget about it.
it's
Yeah.
that thing with like, you get to a point in an acting production where if you think about the lines, you're in trouble.
Yes.
Right? You have to completely trust that they're there, because if you go, oh, what is that line? Then because it goes into different
Then
parts.
it's panic
Yeah,
mode, and that's the last place you want to be. You want to be
it's really funny, isn't it?
anywhere but there, honestly.
Yeah. So that's, I think, what's happened with that, and and it's true, because I can be in a bad mood or like really overtired and not alert rather than focused. I'd say not alert and not energized, and my playing will totally reflect that, because
Yeah.
you haven't got that trust that everything is there. And as soon as a good, one that comes on, and you feel comfortable again, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say they're really intrinsically linked, much more than you might think.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's almost like not every song is the same, but wherever there is a common theme throughout all of them, like similar drum beats, etc. And
Yeah,
I suppose now when you've like next time you're walking down in St Pancras Station and someone whips out a I don't know a just this might not happen, but it would not be unlikely. So you're walking down you're walking in through St Pancras, you pass the piano, and someone brings out a freaking DJ desk and says, "Anyone know the saxophone?" It's like, and you'll just be able to say, be like, "Cool, what are we playing?" "Well, I'm just gonna riff off," and you'll be like, "Let's go, baby, let's go."
yeah, I'd hope so. I'd hope so now at this point. I did a job for a while, but a regular gig that I get asked back to do is requests-based bar and club. And
Yeah,
so it's a live band, and all the drunk people ask for Mr. Brightside and any
well,
other song that they might want to hear. And sometimes they
yeah.
ask for really exciting stuff. Sometimes they don't. And you have
Like,
to
I
play
played
it.
Sweet Caroline enough times. Please just stop.
Exactly that. Careless Whisper is
Oh,
that
of course, yes. Careless Whisper. Yeah,
Uptown Funk. They're all good, but that was another thing that made me a lot better, I think, because that's improv, but there's also very specific moments of accuracy required, and you won't be used for sort of 60% of the gig. It's an indie song will come on and you'll play along, you're very much working, but it's not, the focus is not on the saxophone in Teenage Dirtbag, for example. So
not much.
that's fine. And then the next song will be Simply the Best, and it's got a very famous sax solo in the middle of it that you forget about, and you get there and you go, oh, this is me. I actually you can't really improvise that, or I don't know, the opening of September, you just got to know what that is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I was starting that job, I didn't really know what they were, and now I do, which is fun.
Yeah.
Definitely helped. But I think I definitely am a musician that comes from an acting background, and I approach things differently to how a musician who's gone to a Royal Academy and has done everything the more academic way would approach things with probably a lot more theory and knowledge. And I think I come with feeling and expression and the adjectives that an actor would use. The job I'm doing at the moment is called An Evening with Pink Floyd, and it's the music of Pink Floyd going around the UK and playing in cathedrals, and it's super fun. And that company, it's called Let Me In Presents, they sort of have a theatre background as well, and the way that we rehearsed it was always brought back to the intention of why we were doing it and who the music was for. And the music itself of Pink Floyd is so theatrical, and it's storytelling, and it's really epic at times and incredibly vulnerable and emotional at other times. And I think that's going really well, and I think I'm fitting in nicely there because of that that place of where it comes from.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're reminding me of all the songs now with saxophone solos, and I mean, it's a beautiful instrument, and now I think about it, I know we talked about jazz earlier, but you can't put it in that one category. It actually belongs in so many ways, but I always find it to be in a positive category rather than, piano can fit into anything, happy, sad, melodramatic, what, anything at all. But yeah, but it's a fascinating thing. And but yeah, I want to just quickly, the last thing we'll say on Qatar, you mind just telling the story about, which you said just before we started, about the Brazil Argentina that night where those guys are playing.
Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest match that I did was, I think it was the semi-finals. Can't remember, but those fans are, those fan bases, should I say, are incredibly energetic and full of life and massive. And they come out in their thousands, and they were at these villages, and it was just a sea of blue and yellow and all these different like colors and people, and they were getting along and drinking, and it was a lot of fun. And I got to play some really iconic Brazilian songs, and there are, the DJ chooses those, not me, but I would expect, Mashkanada and some of the football anthems. And yeah, that was really, really fun. I've actually since got to go to Brazil, and yeah, I absolutely love the music there. Music and the dancing and the culture is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful. I haven't been to Brazil yet. I need to go, but it looks like it's just a beautiful country, not only just of football, but of music and life, and just the culture there looks extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And yeah, South America, here I come one day. Yeah, definitely. Just got the last few questions left for you now, Laura. So you mentioned that the Pink Floyd's gig and stuff, which you're doing now and stuff, and that's what's next for you. But I suppose, what's on your bucket list? What gigs do you want to do? What roles do you want to tackle?
That's a great question. In the immediate future, that's what I'm working on at the moment, and then I'm off to do lead city varieties in Aladdin this Christmas, and
Nice.
I'm really enjoying the variety that my career is bringing me at the moment. I feel incredibly lucky that I get to play this iconic sax solo in cathedrals, with an orchestra and band, and then I'm going to be a princess in a pageant, which is really fun. And I think I'm still very much saying yes to everything and collating all the information of what I love doing the most. I know that I love both very much in terms of acting and music, and I miss one when it's gone. I think I'd be really sad if I was to just be a musician in a lot of ways, because I really enjoy characters and the playing off with other people, being in a company and creating something together, which is a similar feeling you get from playing music a lot of the time. But I do love that narrative element, and I would love to do some more of that in the future in other mediums. I would really love to do some more some more film and TV. That's definitely on my bucket list. I think that is that brings other. It's a similar skill set in some ways, but obviously there's an entirely different set of rules in a lot of ways of how you deliver your skill set, and there are some really interesting constraints that it gives you that's so different to theatre, and you get to try things multiple times, which is really fun, and yeah, there's so much of that I'd like to explore. Roles wise, I think it would be fun to do. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know if it's my dream role has been written, but something on the screen that involved music and singing, but not necessarily a musical. I think that would really be up my street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just thinking about art.
Yeah. Is it make a film about a famous sax player or something? Yeah.
Great fun. Yeah, and I don't always need to do both at the same time. I'm really content with going to do Othello and focus on Shakespeare, and I'm also really enjoying this tour. I've had to up my game again as a musician for this tour, because some of the most difficult sax I've played for sure is these Pink Floyd solos. They're so
challenging.
Yeah, they're challenging. They're full of expression, and they are technically really challenging. There's a lot of the altissimo range that I haven't really explored to this level before, which is where you kind of go above the notes on the saxophone and you have to create a specific tone to go even higher. So that's been super fun. But yeah, I think it's still out there, but I'd love. I'm excited to see.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a famous actor called the late great Peter O'Toole. He used to say, "The parts find me. I don't go looking for them," and I like that.
I like that in probably a different way to him. I'm assuming that he was super successful and he just didn't have to audition anymore.
Yeah, there was that component.
And I'll agree with that statement when hopefully that becomes true for me one day. But for the moment, I still agree in a different way. I think I'm very open at this point into what comes my way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just whatever life throws at us, we'll be there. I love it. Just got two more questions left for you today. But first of all, Laura, thank you so much for your time tonight. I really do appreciate it. I know you've had a busy time recently prepping for a lot of things. So thank you for being so generous with your time tonight and for telling me all about your stuff. It's really great. So I just got two quick fire questions left for you today. Finishing questions for every guest. First of all, what would you say was a bit of advice you wish you heard when you were starting out?
That I wish I'd heard. I would say that you need to be aware of the lifestyle, which is not something you think about when you're 16, 17. That you can love this thing, and obviously everyone says you have to love it enough to not think about money, and you have to love it enough to think about the rejection. You have to love it enough to deal with the low pay and all of those things, which are totally true, and I think I was prepared for, but I wasn't necessarily prepared for the instability. And also on a very basic level, I'm not free on a Friday and Saturday night ever. And I'm free on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. if anyone wants to hang out then. That's
drinking.
That's when I'm free. So I think it's a kind of boring and very practical and logistical advice, but I think that's something at the moment that I'm feeling quite currently, that you do have to think about, and whether that suits you. There can be really great pros. You can, I don't pay peak time rush hour prices for anything, and I can go in the middle of the day and do my admin in a coffee shop, and lots of lovely pros as well. But I think that the advice there would be do it because you love it, which is obviously a tale as old as time, but that's another reason to think about as to why you should. Yeah,
if you're not in it with your whole heart, then
and I think you can be in it with your whole heart and life still gets in the way and takes over. And I've got lots of friends and colleagues that I know, people I've trained with, and people that have had an amazing career for a bit and then gone and had babies or families or decided that they've had enough now because the lifestyle just doesn't suit. But because it suits me well now at the moment, the age I am, the time I'm at in life, and I will have to make it suit in a different way, maybe when things change.
Exactly. Yeah, nice one. And finally today, what would you say has been, you might have answered this already actually, but what would you say has been an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to now that you'll never, ever forget?
Oh gosh. Okay. I've got one springs to mind. When I was working with Darren Brown, I had to wear a particular costume, which didn't end up making it into the show. And I think one moment I won't forget is, I mean, there's lots of things from that production I won't forget, but in lots of ways, I had a great time. But I think coming into rehearsal, they were rehearsing upstairs when I had this fitting, and I just sort of came in this costume because I wanted to show them, and I just had to be really brave, and I just kind of came in to perform, and the three directors had three amazing directors, and yeah, Andy Nyman and Andrew O'Connor and Darren, they were just sort of there, sort of flabbergasted. I'd say that probably something I won't forget. I don't know why that's fine. That just feels completely one of the most bizarre ones that
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's just that's not going to leave my memory. Amongst the incredible tick box moments of that show, of face on a tube poster in a taxi and getting to be in such an incredible production with some really great people. But there were some really weird moments too. That was one of them.
Yeah.
Surreal, should I say, rather than weird.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you're going to a Darren Brown show, then don't expect a garden party. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Expect the people say people expect the unexpected, but at his shows, expect anything.
Anything. I went to see his tour at the moment, which is
and
it was absolutely brilliant, and it was so much fun to watch it after having done that experience. And we went as a cast, so we were sat together, and it was great to watch him, because he'd been giving us all of this. I sort of know him as a director, and then to get to watch him as a performer was just, oh my god, it was such a brilliant experience. And expect the unexpected is definitely the right phrase, and it's so fantastic what he does, and it's such another medium of performance and entertainment. I fully recommend it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it goes to that show to be amazed, scared, flabbergasted, and everything in between. Yeah, it's definitely a memorable one. Yes, Laura, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. It's been lovely to hear about your stories and the saxophone and everything. And, up till now, I never thought I'd get to grips with knowing how an instrument like that worked, and the way you've described it has been so great to hear and really exciting, and it makes me want to go listen to some saxophone music now and be like, how does it all work? But no, this has been so much fun. Thank you for, again, being so generous with your time, and for being so open and honest with me. I really do appreciate it. And I'd love to have you back. Let's do this again sometime. That'd be great. And best of luck with the Aladdin and everything this Christmas.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you for all your time. It's been really, really lovely. I mean, wow, to sit and listen to me ramble. That's just
it's not rambling at all. It's been great fun. I look forward to more stories next time and everything else. And more questions about the saxophone are coming into my head now, but we'll save those for another time and everything. Brilliant. So Laura, thank you again. If you just hang on, I'll finish the recording. We'll have a tiny debrief, then you shoot off. Wow. Brilliant. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast. I'll be back very, very soon. And until next time, Laura, obrigado.